6 Minute English.
From BBC Learning English.
Hello and welcome to 6 Minute English. I'm Rob.
And I'm Finn. Hello.
Hello, Finn. Did you have a good weekend?
Yeah, it was okay, thanks. Although, I'm a bit tired now.
All right. Why is that then?
Well, it's a bit embarrassing, but I stayed up all night playing a computer game.
All night, eh? You must be
Pretty much.
addicted. Addicted, by the way, means unable to stop doing something.
Well, maybe today's programme might have some advice for me.
That's right. Today we're discussing whether computer games are bad for our health, and in particular bad for children.
Okay, Rob, why don't you wake me up a little bit by asking me today's quiz question?
Okay, here goes. In America, what percentage of people who play computer games are female? Is it A, 28%, B, 38%, or C, 48%?
Well, I do know a few female gamers, so how about B, 38%?
Okay, right. Go for the middle option. We'll find out if you're right later on. Okay, so what kind of computer games do you like to play, Finn?
Well, I quite like those role-playing games, the fantasy role-playing games.
Okay, well, role-playing is where you create your own characters and stories in a fantasy or imaginary world. But to be honest, those kind of games aren't really up my alley, which means
really?
they're not really suited to my tastes or abilities.
Okay.
Any other kind of games you like, Finn?
Yeah, I also quite like shoot-'em-up games.
All right.
Right, so these are games where you have to do a lot of shooting. There's a lot of violence.
Okay. It's funny because you don't strike me as a violent person, Finn.
I'm not at all. I wouldn't hurt a fly, Rob. But maybe shooting people on a computer screen seems a bit more harmless.
Okay. And not to hurt a fly means to be gentle and unwilling to make people unhappy. And harmless means unlikely to hurt or upset anyone. Well, let's hear Internet Safety Advisor Alan McKenzie discussing how adult computer games can have a negative effect on children.
Many people, understandably, will just think that a game is just a game and not realising the explicit content that's in there. And as you suggest, the violence and the sexualisation of women in particular, which is wholly inappropriate for anybody, never mind children.
Well, if you want my opinion, Rob, a game's just a game. It's generally a harmless form of entertainment. What do you think?
I'm torn, actually.
Right.
Meaning I'm unable to decide. Most people, like you, Finn, probably aren't affected by what you see in computer games, but we can't ignore the small percentage of people who are affected.
Yeah, well, that's true, really, isn't it, Rob? Whilst playing computer games all night doesn't make me violent, it certainly makes me very tired.
I can see that. But also, Finn, when do you and your wife actually talk to each other when you're in your own computer fantasy world for hours on end?
Yeah, it's not great, is it? And for hours on end means a long time, by the way. So, I don't know, maybe if she played as well, then we could have some virtual conversations.
Well, that sounds ridiculous. But let's move on. Alan talks about explicit content in games. What does that mean?
That means showing things in an open and direct way. So, some adult games contain open violence and sexualization.
And should we explain what sexualization means?
Yes, it means making someone or something sexual, and in this case, women. Now, this might be through the shape of a woman's body, or the clothes she wears, or the way she behaves in these games.
Alan says this type of explicit content, violent or sexual, is inappropriate for computer games. And inappropriate means not the right thing for a particular situation.
And he is worried about children accessing this type of content. Let's hear more from him. What advice does he give?
And so it's a matter of educating the parents and the wider community in these issues and making them aware of the type of content that's in there and why it's inappropriate and the effects that it may be having on their children and their behaviour.
Alan thinks it's the responsibility of parents and the wider community. Now, that means other groups of people, such as friends, relatives, and teachers, for example, to check on what children are viewing and playing.
But this will only work if they understand which types of content are okay and which aren't.
That's right. So the adults need educating too. They need to be shown.
Yes, that's right. So I'll be checking on your behaviour from now on, Finn.
Okay, that's probably a good idea. So let's hear the answer to today's quiz question next.
Yes, and I asked you, in America, what percentage of people who play computer games are female? Is it A, 28%, B, 38%, or C, 48%?
When I went for the middle option, as usual, and I said B, 38%.
And you are wrong this time, Finn.
Ooh.
The answer is actually C, 48%. Are you surprised by that?
Yes and no. I think a lot more people are playing games in general, so lots of them must be women.
Absolutely, why not? OK, shall we now listen to the words we learned today?
Good idea. We heard addicted, fantasy, up your alley, shoot 'em up, not to hurt a fly, harmless, for hours on end, explicit content, sexualization, inappropriate, wider community.
Thank you. Well, that brings us to the end of today's 6-Minute English. We hope you enjoyed today's programme. You can hear other 6-Minute English programmes at bbclearningenglish.com. Please join us again soon. Bye-bye.
6-Minute English. From BBC Learning English.
Hello, this is 6-Minute English from BBC Learning English. I'm Phil.
And I'm Georgie.
If you're a Swiftie, that's a fan of pop star Taylor Swift, her music rocks your world.
I like that phrase, rock your world, Phil. It means that something makes your life enjoyable, right?
Well, yes, but actually no, Georgie. I mean, Taylor Swift literally rocks the world. At a recent concert in Edinburgh, as part of Taylor Swift's Eras tour, her fans' energetic dancing literally moved the earth, with seismic activity usually associated with earthquakes detected 4 miles away.
Yes, it's hard to believe, but in this programme we'll be hearing about the Swift Quake, a powerful force like an earthquake coming not from nature, but from a pop concert. And as usual, we'll be learning some useful new vocabulary as well.
Great. But first, I have a question for you, Georgie. Actually, Taylor Swift's Edinburgh show wasn't the first music concert to trigger seismic waves. In 1992, the band Madness caused 2 earthquakes that saw local residents evacuated from their homes. But at which London venue did the concert take place? Was it A, Hyde Park, B, the Royal Albert Hall, or C, Finsbury Park?
I'll guess the concert was held at the Royal Albert Hall.
OK, Georgie, I'll reveal the correct answer at the end of the programme. Following Taylor Swift's Edinburgh concert, seismologists Emma Greenough and James Panton from Cardiff University wanted to see if the same thing would happen at Taylor's concert in Cardiff. Seismologists are scientists who study earthquakes and seismic waves. Emma and James set up their equipment to monitor and record ground motion as the concert got started. As James explains here to Marnie Chesterton, presenter of BBC Radio 4 programme Inside Science.
Tell me about the peak on this graph that you're seeing and what that actually corresponds to.
In this top graph of the red wiggly line, we're looking at the ground velocity in essentially meters per second. So that's the velocity that the ground is vibrating up and down.
So this is literally people stamping up and down?
Yes, so this is all of the energy combined from the 73,000 people in the stadium jumping in unison and stamping in unison.
James, the British Geological Survey recorded 23.4 nanometers of movement in Edinburgh. What does that actually mean?
So what that means is that they recorded the ground flexing up and down by a distance of 23 nanometers.
James's equipment recorded seismic movement when Taylor Swift started to sing. Her hit song Cruel Summer created a peak, the highest point, in the graph which James's machine was drawing. The peak was made by thousands of Swifties jumping up and down in unison, together and at the same time, creating something like a mini earthquake.
The seismologists measured a ground movement of 23 nanometers. That may not sound much, but remember, This is the Earth itself actually flexing or bending without breaking.
So the ground is shaking, music is blasting, and thousands of fans are dancing. But does this qualify as an earthquake, scientifically speaking? Here's James Panton and Marnie Chesterton again for BBC Radio 4's Inside Science.
James, impressive as this is to see coming up on your seismograph, this is not the same league, really, as an earthquake.
No, definitely not. There have been some people who have tried to convert the energy output from concerts into a local magnitude scale to make it comparable to an earthquake. And when that's happened, we find magnitudes that are generally less than 1.
Sadly, the answer to Georgie's question is no. The Taylor Swift concert wasn't technically an earthquake. Marnie says the concert was not in the same league, an idiom meaning not nearly as good or important as something else.
Yes, the energy created by the music's sound waves and thousands of fans jumping did move the Earth, but not in a way that's comparable or similar to a real earthquake. By definition, an earthquake must break the Earth's crust and is caused by either the movement of tectonic plates or a volcano. Officially, Taylor Swift didn't cause an earthquake, but for the Swifties, it probably felt like one.
All of which brings us back to my question, Georgie. I asked you about another earth-shattering concert involving the British band Madness. But where in London did the show take place?
And I guessed it was at the Royal Albert Hall.
Which was the wrong answer, I'm afraid, Georgie. In fact, the concert happened in Finsbury Park. OK, let's recap the vocabulary we've learnt in this programme, starting with the phrase rock your world, meaning that someone or something has a positive effect on you, making your life enjoyable.
A peak is the highest point of something.
When things happen in unison, they happen together at the same time.
To flex means to bend without breaking.
If you say something is not in the same league as something else, you mean it's nowhere near as good or important.
And finally, the adjective comparable means similar in size, amount or quality. Once again, our 6 minutes are up. But remember to join us again next time for more trending topics and useful vocabulary here at 6 Minute English. Goodbye for now.
Bye.
6 Minute English. From BBC Learning English.
Hello and welcome to 6 Minute English. I'm Neil.
And I'm Alice. Now, Neil, I'm a big fan of chat shows, as you know. But what do you think makes a good interview?
I like it when the interviewer asks a question that catches the guest off guard. You know, to surprise them so they're embarrassed and don't know what to say.
That's not very nice.
I know, but it's great TV. That's what chat shows are all about, isn't it?
Well, I don't agree, Neil. A chat show, by the way, is a TV or radio programme where a host, the person who presents the show, talks to guest celebrities about various topics. And what makes a good interview is the subject of today's show.
So what's a good interview technique, Alice?
Well, asking open questions. Questions the celebrities can't easily respond to with a short answer. Open questions give them the chance to talk and possibly reveal some juicy details about themselves.
Juicy details means information you find interesting because it's exciting or shocking.
Yes, so let's test your interviewing skills, Neil. Ask me something. See if you can get some juicy details.
OK. How much do you weigh?
How much do I weigh?
Yeah.
How much do you weigh? Look, that's a closed question. You're going to get a short answer and no juicy details. And more importantly, Neil, it's a rude question.
OK, bad choice, sorry. But your reaction was juicy. You got pretty hot under the collar. And that means embarrassed or angry. I'll try to think of a better question to ask before the end of the show.
All right, then. Now, since you aren't good at asking questions, perhaps you can answer one instead. Who developed a method of questioning around 2,500 years ago that aims to discover hidden truths? Was it A. Hippocrates, B. Socrates, or C. Aristotle?
Well, I don't know much about ancient history, so I'm going to guess C. Aristotle.
Well, we'll find out if you pick the right answer later on. But now let's listen to Larry King talking about the secret of his successful career as a TV chat show host. Can you spot a word that means to get or produce?
If you ask good questions and you elicit thoughtful answers, you'll learn more about the person. If I begin an interview by saying, "Why'd you do that?" I make you defensive. That may be thrilling television, but you don't learn a lot. I learned that the more I drew back, asked good questions, listened to the answers, cared about the guest, you make the camera disappear.
The word Larry King used is elicit.
Right. And you elicited a defensive reaction from me when you asked a not very thoughtful question about my weight. Defensive means protecting yourself from criticism or attack.
Okay, I wouldn't make a good chat show host then.
You're right there. So, good interviewers draw back or move away from being the centre of attention. They are good listeners and care about their guests. Sound familiar?
Oh, are you suggesting that you're a good interviewer?
Yep.
Okay, well, so why aren't you a top chat show host then, hey? What does Larry mean when he says you have to make the camera disappear?
It means to make the conversation real, as if you were chatting with a friend rather than performing to a TV audience. But let's hear more from Larry King on the secret of his success.
I don't want to know. I don't want a yes. I want a why. So in other words, I want to be a little kind of dumb. My friend Herbie said the secret of my success was being dumb. What do you mean by that?
So, you have to ask dumb or stupid questions to make a great chat show host. I knew it.
Maybe there's hope for you yet, Neil.
Ah, charming.
Lovely. OK, here's the answer to today's quiz question. I asked, who developed a method of questioning around 2,500 years ago that aims to discover hidden truths? Was it A, Hippocrates, B, Socrates, or C, Aristotle?
And I said C, Aristotle.
No, it was B, Socrates. All three were famous Greek philosophers, but Socrates was the one who angered lots of important people by his probing or investigative questions. And this technique is called Socratic dialogue. Socrates lived from 469 to 399 BC, and he influenced philosophy so much that all previous thinkers have come to be known as pre-Socratic. Despite this, he declared, "All I know is that I know nothing."
Very noble. OK, a final question for you, Alice. What makes you happy?
Working with such a fantastic co-presenter, Neil.
Ah, that's nice. I'm embarrassed now.
Oh. Can you tell us the words we heard today?
Of course. Catch somebody off guard. Chat show. Host. Open questions. Juicy details. Closed question. Hot under the collar. Illicit. Defensive. Draw back. Make the camera disappear. Dumb. Probing.
Well, that's the end of today's 6 Minute English. Please join us again soon.
Yes, do indeed.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
6 Minute English. From BBC Learning English.
Hello and welcome to 6 Minute English. I'm Alice.
And I'm Neil.
Neil, what are you doing?
I saw Squirtle, and I'm trying to catch it.
What are you talking about?
Pokemon Go, Alice. I'm trying to catch a Pokemon.
What?
Alice, keep up. Pokemon Go is a game where these little virtual monsters pop up onto your phone and you have to catch them. There it is again. Ah, gotcha. I got Squirtle.
Well done, Neil. Now, the subject of today's show is crazes.
And Pokemon Go is a good example. When it was first released, so many people were downloading the app that servers were crashing all over the place.
Perhaps I should explain at this point that a craze or a fad is a sudden and widespread enthusiasm for something, which only lasts a short time. So, why do you think this craze for Pokemon Go took off, Neil?
It uses augmented reality, and that's exciting new technology. It's fun to play outside, and the game was released over the summer when people want to be outside. And people are already familiar with the monsters since they were created back in 1995.
Augmented reality, by the way, is where digital information is layered on top of what you see through a smartphone or other device, augmenting or adding to it.
I love this game, but then again, I loved other games in the past. I still have some toys and gadgets from my childhood at home. If there was a fad, I would join in, I'm afraid.
Well, let me test your knowledge about toys that turned into fads. Tell me, what is the best-selling toy of all time? Is it A, the Space Hopper, B, the Rubik's Cube, also known as Magic Cube, or C, the Cabbage Patch Doll?
I'll say B, the Rubik's Cube. I have one, and so does my cousin, my neighbour, my brother, my
Well,
dog.
we'll find out if you got the answer right or not later on in the show. But why do we like to participate in crazes? Dr. Ben Michaelis, a clinical psychologist from Columbia University in the US, explains.
When a person or a group perceives an idea or a process or a product as being beneficial to one person or to a group of people, they immediately want to experience that benefit for themselves, which hooks into an ancient evolutionary fear of being left behind or abandoned by our tribes, and so more people join in.
So, Ben Michaelis believes that people join crazes because they're afraid of being abandoned by others in their group. But I don't think that's true for me. I just enjoy playing games.
Yes, but why have you switched from Angry Birds to Minecraft to Pokemon Go in the space of a year? And before that, there was Candy Crush and...
Well, I get bored after a while.
So it isn't because other people stop playing it, and they stop talking about it, and it stops being a group thing?
Maybe. There is an element of that. Anyway, I like the idea that we join a craze because it's beneficial or good for us.
I'm not convinced that playing Pokemon Go is beneficial. Did you know, Neil, that in terms of personality type, people who are more emotionally insecure are far more likely to follow a craze? You know, sort of herd mentality.
Herd mentality describes how people are influenced by their peers to adopt certain behaviours. But it's fun to be connected with others through a craze. Aren't you troubled by FOMO?
FOMO? F-O-M-O, or fear of missing out? Oh no, I have a strong sense of self. But, well... I must admit I like loom bands. Do you remember those little rubber bands you could make jewellery and other stuff out of?
Yes, I remember. David Beckham wore a loom band bracelet.
So did the Duchess of Cambridge. They were very popular a couple of years ago and came from a simple idea. Cheong Chun Ng, an immigrant from Malaysia living in the United States, invented the rainbow loom after watching his daughters play. Let's hear his story.
The idea of loom band came from my daughters. So one day they came home from school. Two of them were teaching each other how to make rubber band bracelets from those small, tiny ponytail size of rubber bands. I tried to impress them by making a thicker bracelet that was made from a prototype loom that I fabricated. And it was a success, and they were telling me that those bracelets are so cool, can you make more?
Cheong Chun Ng made a prototype, a first model of a machine from which all others would develop. He posted a video of his daughters making the bracelets, and these went viral on the internet.
Interesting. Now, I think it's time for the answer to today's quiz question.
Yes, I asked, what is the best-selling toy of all time? Is it A, the Space Hopper, B, the Rubik's Cube, also known as Magic Cube, or C, the Cabbage Patch Doll?
It has to be the Rubik's Cube.
And indeed it is. In the 35 years since the puzzle was available to buy outside of Hungary, where its inventor came from, approximately 350 million Rubik's Cubes have been sold, making it the world's best-selling toy. And they're clever little toys, I must say. There's some maths in them. Now, let's hear the words we learned today.
They were craze, fad, augmented reality, beneficial, herd mentality, FOMO, prototype. And that's the end of today's 6 Minute English. Don't forget to join us again soon.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
6 Minute English. From BBC Learning English.
Hello, I'm Neil. Welcome to 6 Minute English. And with me here in the studio, ladies and gentlemen, is Finn.
Thank you, sound effects. Thank you, Neil. Is this all for me? I feel like quite a celebrity.
Yes, a celebrity. Someone famous. Particularly someone in show business. That's the world of entertainment, theatre and film. Today we're talking about fame and teaching you some related vocabulary.
Yes. Some celebrities are famous for their talent, which means their ability to do something well, like singing, acting or telling jokes.
And others are famous for being famous or being associated with someone who is. The names Paris Hilton and Kim Kardashian come to mind. Wealthy women with their own TV shows. But talking about celebrity, let me ask you a question.
Actually, Neil, only if you play that lovely applause again. Go on, Neil.
I knew you would love this.
Come on.
Here it goes.
Yes! Anyway, Neil, I can give you my autograph later.
You mean signature. An autograph is the signature of a famous person, Finn. Fans collect these and things like photographs.
Yes, we call things like those memorabilia.
For example, Michael Jackson's leather glove with shiny crystals. It became very famous in the 1980s when he presented his moonwalk to the world. How much was it sold for at an auction in 2009? Now, was it A, $150,000, B, $250,000, or C, $350,000?
I think Michael Jackson has some big fans in the world, so I'll say C, $350,000.
OK, I'll give you the answer at the end of the programme.
So, the idea of celebrity seems very modern in some ways. Does it have a long history?
Well, Lord Byron, a very famous English poet born in 1788, is considered by some experts to be the world's first modern-style celebrity. Let's hear Dr. Corinne Throsby, English literature researcher at Cambridge University.
Why was Byron a celebrity?
Listen out for the noun she uses in the first sentence, meaning a product or something for sale.
If we think of celebrity as the moment where someone's personality becomes a commodity. So for Byron, the fact that he was popular on this scale that had never been achieved before because his career had coincided with mass printing. But something more than that there was a sort of secondary industry of Byron stuff, that there were Byron neckties. People wanted to look like Byron. There was this mass of people that loved him. He could no longer control his image. I think that that's what separates celebrity from the fame that had preceded that.
So the noun was a commodity. She said that when someone's personality becomes a product, that's when they turn into a celebrity.
She talked of fame so big you can't control your own image. That's your reputation, the way other people think about you and imagine you. Someone interesting in this respect is Justin Bieber.
Yeah. Are you a fan, Neil?
I'm a massive fan of Justin Bieber. I love him.
I believe you.
He's a big name, and he's always in the newspapers. His fans are called Beliebers.
And Byron's fans were called Byron Maniacs. That's the name his wife gave his adoring fans, though she wasn't too happy about them.
Yes, Byron's life was full of scandals, actions which caused shock and disapproval among people.
And for Byron, it was mainly his love life. He had affairs with men and women.
For Justin Bieber, it's about his behaviour. He was accused of driving after drinking alcohol and of vandalism.
Vandalism means causing damage to property.
Poor Justin Bieber.
Though he's very popular, his career started when he was in his early teens, and I think it must have been difficult growing up with this global fame. Still, I wonder how much his autograph is worth in the current market.
Well, I don't know about Justin Bieber's autograph, but I do know about Michael Jackson's shiny glove.
Mm-hmm.
It became iconic in the 1980s, but how much was it sold for? Was it $150,000, $250,000, or C, $350,000?
I said C, $350,000.
And you were right.
Wow, that's rare.
Did you buy it?
It wasn't me, no.
Well, our time is up, but let's remember the words we heard from today. Finn.
We heard celebrity, show business, talent, autograph, memorabilia, commodity, image, scandal, and vandalism.
That's it for today. Please join us again soon for 6 Minute English from BBC Learning English.
Neil?
What?
You know what? Go on.
Okay, one more time.
You love it as well, don't you?
I do. It's great. I'll join in.
Bye.
6 Minute English from BBC Learning English.